Welcome everybody to this week's Tech Threads interview. Today I got Adam McCullough. Is that how you pronounce it, McCullough?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Perfect. Adam McCullough here to talk with us today. We're talking a little bit about cross-functional teams, some AI as well. Adam will kind of explain his background. He's kind of mentored me for the last year and a half. We've been in contact, and he has some great insights with his experience in tech, at NASA with Lockheed Martin, and now he's at Microsoft doing some pretty amazing stuff. So we'll get into that. But before I jump into kind of what we wanted to talk about today, Adam, I'll just pass it off to you to kind of like explain who you are, what you've done, some of the projects you're working on, and then we'll go from there. So Adam, take it away.
Sure. Yeah. Max, thanks so much. So Adam McCullough, I'm currently a global AI solution architect at Microsoft. I've been here for about 7 years. Um, Getting here, I spent about 9 years at Lockheed Martin in a number of different roles. I started out supporting NASA at Kennedy Space Center during the shuttle program days, supported the Department of Defense on a number of different initiatives, and then made my way over to Microsoft, where I'm at now. And so in the role that I'm in, I'm leading AI feature request globally for Microsoft. So think about if a customer, and when I say customers, think about like NASA being a customer, or Walmart being a customer, or Cartier being a customer, for instance, them using our services, and they need a feature that doesn't exist. They're blocked, or they're trying out an initiative. My team, what we do is we look at those feature requests and we get them over to the product group to rack and stack them for semester planning. So that's what I do now, globally. So been a great time so far in role. It's only been a month or so, but it's been exciting.
Yeah, I think it's really funny too, because like a lot of people like in your spot with this AI, because it's such a new thing. You guys are all like 1 month into it basically, and just kind of like running to where it is and just trying to figure out where we're supposed to go in the future. So I can't wait to kind of get some of your opinions on that. And then also just with your technical background, like working with cross-functional teams, working with technical style people, and like kind of best practices and what you've seen as you've worked with them, kind of helps the best. But just kind of like get things kicked off. One of the big problems that I know a lot of people have, especially non-technical people who come from like a different type of background and then later transition into tech, is they have a hard time like communicating with technical style people and then like leading them in group settings. So like with your time, obviously coming from a very technical background, what do you think those types of technical or non-technical product or project managers can do to better communicate with technical style people, or that you've seen in your past that you think helps technical style people work better from their product managers or people like that?
Sure. Yeah. I think one of the first things that I would recommend folks to do, you have to get at least a baseline of like understanding of vernacular, right? So whatever team you're working with, knowing like if it's a deep technical team, an engineering team, a sales team, if it's some sort of business team or leadership team, knowing the vernacular, like what is it that they're talking about when they speak, tech speak, know what that means. So whether that's taking a class, whether that's shadowing somebody, whether it's reading, a lot of it is reading and
Mm.
educating yourself to say, hey, I know what they're talking about when they mention this. You don't have to be deep technical, like hands-on keyboard coding to be able to talk with them. It's to say, hey, how can I frame this in such a way that they know what it is that I'm asking for or looking for?
Mhm.
And then being able to put something bookending what you're asking for in a timeline. So here's something that I'm looking for. Make sure they understand what it is and they're tracking what the ask is, and you can have them talk, repeat it back to you in a timeline. Say, hey, here's what I'm looking for this. I think one of the big things that's important when working with cross-functional teams too is we're all human, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of times it can seem very transactional. Hey, Max, I want this. Give me an update on this. The likelihood of you getting back to me right away is probably low because everyone's asking for something. And so building the relationship with folks that you're in a cross-functional team with globally, or maybe it's in a particular area or a geographic location, knowing speaking their speak, number one, I think is important. Knowing what motivates them and their team, right? So like,
Mhm.
what success look like for them? What are they judged on? And then actually taking some time to get to know your stakeholders, who you're working with, knowing, okay, what's limiting maybe you getting back to me? Are you short staffed? Are you have all these different priorities? I think those are big things that oftentimes get forgot because we're in this very transactional world of, hey, I need something, I'm on a time frame, I need something
Mhm.
right away. I think it's important to pause and say, hey, what is it that they need? What is it that they're trying to do on their side that I can either help them with, and then get to know them. So I think that's helped me getting things done on cross-functional teams, whether at Lockheed or at Microsoft or wherever I worked at.
Yeah, that human aspect, I think a lot of managers especially kind of forget that, especially like when you have lots of things piling up, you're like, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this. But like forgetting that human aspect of it really puts like a clunk in the chain sort of way. Do you have any examples of things you've done in the past, you've had managers do in the past that's like really helped build that relationship with either you or like people on your team?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that I do, I always join a meeting early, a few minutes early.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that I do, and anyone that might be watching this that knows me or might hear something I ask is, I'll ask where you're dialing in from. So
Mhm.
I'm in Orlando, Florida. So I'll oftentimes say, oh, I'm dialing in from, beautiful Orlando, Florida, or sunny Orlando, Florida. It's rough here because I've got the sun in my face all the time. I gotta have good sunglasses. There's the beach. Typically, it gets some sort of reaction, especially if someone's in cold weather. I think that's kind of an initial thing, right? Like, hey, we're human. This is where I'm living. I might ask them how the weather is. Might ask them what they're doing on the weekend, or what they did on the weekend. Let's say, for instance, today's Monday. So I think those are things that I've practiced and done. And
Mhm.
and I think folks, um, there's a quote from Maya Angelou. It's no one, basically I'm paraphrasing, but people don't care how much you know, they want to know how much you care, essentially.
Mhm.
And that's a big part of it. It's one thing that you have all of these things that you need to accomplish quickly. We're all on deadlines. That's something that I always make sure I take into whatever project I'm working on. Is I'm dealing with humans, right? We're not
Mhm.
robots yet, with what's going on with AI. But it's good to have someone ask these questions, and get to know you. And I think that's helped. And the one example, joining early is one. Maybe even just pinging someone off to the side, right? Like in Teams, asking them how they're doing, or asking them maybe something that you learned about them, and maybe setting up some one-on-one time to chat with them, in each other's spare time.
Yeah, I think taking the effort and even like showing that you care, it's one of those things you can't fake, It's just it comes genuine and people can really tell. Like for me, example, I know because I play basketball and I've had tons and tons of coaches. And like sometimes coaches are like, you're just kind of a number on their team. They just kind of push you on. And like some really do care. And the ones that really care, you can tell, and it makes you want to work even harder and like put more time into it. So I can see that showing that you actually care and being genuine. Like you hopped on this call early and I was like shocked. I was like, oh, he's already on. Like I just had on to be ready. And I think that really just builds the connection even more. And I can see this for like a technical team really, changing the whole dynamic of a team.
Yeah, and you and we got to catch up before the call, right? I mean, it was
Yeah.
great catching up. It's been a while since we've chatted. For me, I didn't all wasn't always in tech. So I came
Mhm.
from like a customer service background. I was in healthcare briefly, and a lot of that, I think, that experience transitioned over well into this space because we're human, right? And you're all dealing with something, and whether it's work or personal that you have going on, I think it's good to have folks remind you of that, which is good, right?
Mhm.
And I think you then take it personal, right? Like if we're working together and we're getting along, and we feel like we're on the same team, you could feel like you're letting me down, and vice versa. And I don't
Mhm.
want that with your basketball example, right? If you guys are in it together, you don't want to let your team down. And
Yeah.
so you care much more than it being very transactional. Like, oh, here's this. All right, now I'm off to go off and work something else, and who knows when I'll talk to Max again.
Yeah, and I think I was going to ask you too, also, because I know a lot of people like there's thousands of projects going on. Everybody has deadlines and timelines they need. And so when you have like a project you're running, you're taking other people's time. And I think what you mentioned there, just like showing that you care and putting that effort out there, it helps them. Like these people that are working on your project now, they put more effort into it and they really try to do a good quality job. Like I know back on my internship, there was times where I'd like have people kind of like help out in the project and like the work I'd get back is just kind of like 50-50. I'd have to like tweak it a little bit because I mean, like I just didn't know them. For me, I was just some random kid. And so I understand that. But I think building this, connection that we were talking about, just, yeah, you don't want to let your teammates down. You want to let your friends down. And that changes the way you work and just the
It,
environment.
exactly. I think one of the other things too is when you have that personal connection too, you're able to ask questions on, or let folks know, like, why is it important? here is why it's important to my team. Here's what you're doing for me, how it affects the larger ecosystem. You're able to have those conversations. So then, because we could be all very siloed, like, here's what
Mhm.
I'm working on, here's what you're working on. You may not know you turning the wrench over here has this massive impact on this side. And having those relationships, you now know, oh, I didn't know that. Now that I know, I realize the impact that I'm having. I didn't realize it was just me responding back to an email. I didn't realize there's this thread with, all these corporate vice presidents, and you're trying to get an answer back to them that only I know. So it's important. I think it's important to, we're human. We're all, trying to do our best. But I think it's allowing that conversation to take place.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's just one of those keys, especially like with creating. I know nowadays, like your working environment is such a big deal and people really look for like high quality working environments. I think making that connection and making that friendship, will improve everything. And to kind of like jump back off of your joke, you said like we're not AI, we're not robots yet, but like with the way AI is going, I'd love to kind of hit you with some questions about AI and kind of your perspective. I know it's still in the beginning, really nobody knows what's going to happen with AI. It's kind of one of those things you just kind of wait and see. But like, how do you see AI changing the way that like project managers, program managers like yourself, interact with each other? And how can you see it like helping people's work in the future?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the things that comes to mind, and to your point, we don't know for sure. Like, we have some ideas, and the big thing is hard to know is how quickly it'll happen. So there's kind
Mhm.
of the adoption rate. But one of the things I do think that's instantly happening, even right now with Copilot, for instance, with Microsoft, is being able to craft up emails back. So if you're a program manager, product manager, compiling information that you've gathered from a phone call, for instance, from a team and task, it's doing it for you. Knowing
Mhm.
who you've tasked, what the task is, and the timeline, it's doing all of that for you. It's doing a lot of automation. And then the other way, for the folks that you're sending those asks to, they also have the ability to summarize what they've worked on and get back to you. So you have that automation piece up front. I'm using it in Word. I'm using it in Excel. I'm using it in Teams, which I mentioned. I think that's going to be a big game changer moving forward. And we are in the infancy stage, so even just those things is going to be a game change for um, program managers, product managers, um, architects, working with those folks, engineers. It's going to change how we work together with a lot of automation and being able to pull data from a lot of different places and compound it in one succinct dashboard for folks to be able to look at and see where top trends are.
Right. Use it as a tool to kind of like boost your productivity and stuff. Um, for those, because I know for me personally, I mean, I kind of come from a technical background. I've been a big AI fan. And so I've actually started using AI, but like I've gone out of my way to learn about it and to like look out for those AIs. I know a lot of people have a hard time finding those AIs or like even knowing where to get started when it comes to like orienting themselves around AI. What advice would you have for them about how to, get situated in this new global AI landscape, especially right now?
Yeah, this may sound like maybe a ridiculous answer, but um, Bing, Copilot, you can ask, I'm new to AI, where should I start? And you're using AI to learn about AI, right? And it's
Mhm.
going to give you, hey, you could say, hey, I'm a 5-year-old. Please explain AI to me. I'm a seasoned professional, or give me some recommendations on some courses to start. That's one. That's the very first place that I would start.
Mhm.
And then go from there. Like, start with some fundamentals. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there. I think it's a combination of for learning, and people's comfort style would be, learning about it either through watching a video and then doing some hands-on stuff. For me, I'm a hands-on learner. So depending your learning style, um, it's just getting out there and doing it. I think one of the big things my biggest advice that I would give anybody um, is, and there's this quote that is, the best time to have planted a tree was 10 years ago. And the next
Mhm.
best time is right now. Is right now. Start. Why, if you don't know, if you're not sure, you think it may not be for you, um, go to Bing, or you can use Google too. I mean, I'm, not pushing one product on our chat here, but go and just try it out. I think you'll be surprised. And ask it questions. It could be about learning AI, or it could be something else you might be interested in. I think there's a lot of technology adjacent work that happens that folks, you don't have to be, I want to be an AI engineer to to get into technology, right? Teachers are going to be using AI, lawyers are going to be using AI, doctors are going to be using AI, using this co-pilot. So whoever you are, wherever you sit, it's a good time to start right now.
Yeah, I think one thing too is a lot of times, like at least in the media right now, when it's like such a new thing, AI is made out to be this like super crazy, machine learning. They have like algorithms, and for a lot of people, that's like a scary, daunting task. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't learn this. Like it's too complicated." So I think like your advice on just go try being out, go try Copilot out and just like see how it works, and then get integrated that way, and it kind of breaks that barrier to entry a lot more, I think, and can really help
Exactly.
people just like get excited about it and then learn like the possibilities of what you could be using AI for. I think it all starts kind of from one spot. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so I think AI is just something really cool. Although it's kind of interesting. I know back in the day, because I've taken an AI class right now, and we're learning about like the basics of that. But back in the day, like when new technology is always proposed to some people, especially where it's like possibly gonna like not replace jobs, but help people do their jobs better. There's like some fear about AI and jobs, like the calculator, for example, and that thing came out. I know there's a lot of like accountants who like were super against it because it was like doing the math that they spent 10 years learning how to do in like a second.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so what would your advice be for people who are kind of like standoffish about AI? And like, how would you advise them to start like feeling more towards AI as kind of like accepting it and learning how to use it rather than, fearing it and kind of pushing it away?
Yeah, yeah, I think, and that's a great example with the calculator. I remember there being teachers that were against it, like, oh, you're not learning, or even, with the
Mhm.
computer, right? With Google, when, Google was like a thing. Oh, you're not learning anything, you're just asking Google to do something. I think the biggest thing is, look, it's not going away. I think that's first and foremost. It's not as if I'm going to
Mhm.
close my eyes and it's going to go away. I'm never have to worry about it again. It's here, and we're at the infancy stage of it. It's not as if we're at the tail end even. It's to try to embrace change, right? This is something new and different. Don't get caught up in what might be on the media of what AI might do. Um, there's a ton of possibilities that AI, the capability of AI, being a co-pilot and helping, I think folks should lean into.
Mhm.
And so I think it's one of those things for me. It's much easier to sit back and say, oh, I don't like it. Oh, I'm against it. Oh, it's going to do all of these things to humanity and my job. But if you haven't actually messed around with it, it's difficult for you to, you're kind of guessing or going off of
Mhm.
what, someone else might say. Get your hands dirty, try it out, see how it might be able to help with your job. And if jobs are changing, so this will change jobs, right? There are going to be changes that eventually come on behalf of AI. You are better positioned from knowing AI, from your experience using it, than not using it at all. So rather than just
Mhm.
saying, I'm going to sit on my hands and not doing anything, it's going to take away my job, it's how can I leverage it today for my job or maybe a job that I might be interested in the future? You should always be looking to grow and learn. And this is an opportunity where it's probably one of the technologies, the most recent technology that the playing field is fairly level in terms
Mhm.
of there are not thousands and thousands of AI experts out there that know everything there is. It's still very new. It's an opportunity for you to learn and you to become an expert or even a semi-expert. You don't have to be, deep AI guy or gal or individual that is looking to advance AI. You can use it in your job, despite whatever industry you might be in.
Yeah, I think having that mindset, just growth and leaning into it. Yeah, it's hard because we don't like change as humans, but it's good. And it's one of those things that, yeah, it's not going away anytime soon. It'll be the future. And so might as well lean into it, learn how to use it to better position yourself, 10 years down the line when, you need to know it. And so anyways, I know we're kind of coming close on time, but I just think that's like one of those really big things we've kind of talked about today. Adam, I really appreciate your time on today, coming and talking and kind of sharing your expertise and your experience with anyone who's listening. I really hope someone finds value in this. Maybe it helps you with your job, growing in your career field, or even like getting into a new career field. Hopefully some of these ideas and these themes that we've talked about today can really help them. So yeah, once again, thanks so much for taking the time to talk today.
All right, thanks, Max.